Jared Sandler here with you after another Rangers season. Hope everyone is doing well. For those of you who are not having a great day, a great few days, whatever it might be, hope that better days are ahead. Certainly hope and know that better days are ahead for the Rangers. It was a rough year. They finished with the second worst record in the majors. That means they'll pick second in the draft in 2021, so an opportunity to add a big-time impact player who can hopefully help the organization down the road. What I want to do here today is go through the position players who we saw this year and briefly assess their year and maybe look ahead to what's next for that player and that position group, and maybe address a few off-season storylines. And then later this week, we'll do the same for the pitchers. So let's just start with the catching spot. I'd say that it was a productive year for Jose Trevino with the improved slug, showing that he can drive the ball and hit for some extra base hit power. We already knew and know what he can do behind the plate from a leadership standpoint, from a catching standpoint. Unfortunately, an injury cut his season short, and he's going to have to stay healthy. He's dealt with some injuries the last couple years, but not sure that it's a big concern just yet. I expect Jose to be a part of the opening day roster as long as he's healthy in 2021, and then it's going to be I guess a decision for the front office what they want to do with Sam Huff as to what Jose's role will be. The Rangers could sign a veteran backup, and Jose could catch the lion's share of the games, or they could decide to have Sam Huff up from the word go, and those two could split time behind home plate. Either way, Jose is going to get a significant amount of playing time after the year he put together this season, and he certainly earned it. Now, Jeff Mathis is a free agent. It's unlikely the Rangers bring him back. If they did, it would probably be with the understanding that they didn't expect him here the full year because, again, it goes back to Sam Huff. And Jeff also perhaps wants to go to a place where, he can get some more playing time and not be the third catcher. And what I mean by that is if the Rangers have Sam Huff up next year, he's going to catch and he's going to play first. They're going to want him to get as many at-bats as possible. So when he's not catching, then, I wouldn't be surprised to see him playing first base. But if you're going to use your second catcher as a position player as much as they likely would, you would need a third catcher just for emergency purposes and maybe to start once every 2 weeks. I don't know if Jeff would want that role. Perhaps he would. He also might have another opportunity that yields more playing time. I'm not sure what the market will be for Jeff. There's always a spot for someone who is as adept defensively and working with pitchers as Jeff is as a backup. But as far as Sam Huff is concerned, it's a really small sample size, but towards the back half he showed that he can have some success against big league pitching. And I think that while a few weeks ago I would have said he was going to start the season in the minors and then quickly work his way up, I think there's a chance that if he has a good spring, he could be a big leaguer on opening day. Again, a part of a catching tandem with Jose Trevino and a part of a first base tandem as well, possibly with Ronald Guzman. So all in all, I think a good year from a future standpoint for Rangers catchers with the progress Jose Trevino showed offensively and just Sam Huff getting his feet wet and showing that he can have some success. And then again, as far as the rostering of those catchers next year, if Sam Huff or when Sam Huff comes up, they're likely going to need to have a third catcher. And Isaiah Kiner-Falefa is not someone they want to fill that role just to protect themselves if Sam Huff is going to play first base as much as I would expect him to play. As far as the infield is concerned, Sherten Apostel made his major league debut. He's going to start next season in Double or Triple A, and will have a chance to be a big leaguer once again next year. But he's one of the 5 guys who hadn't played above A-ball, who got a decent amount of big league time for the Rangers this year. Derek Dietrich seemed to do a nice job as far as fulfilling a spot and offering some leadership in the clubhouse. I wouldn't expect Derek to be back next year. As far as Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, I don't know where he's going to start next year, but he will be an everyday player. He's certainly earned it, and hopefully he brings home the Gold Glove at third, but there's a chance he's not your everyday third baseman next year. If Josh Young shows that he's ready, perhaps the Rangers want Josh Young to play third, and they can move Isaiah Kiner-Falefa around. He's got the ability to be a very good defensive player at third, short, and second. I'd say because of arm strength, second would probably be the spot in which he would have more success than short, but we saw him this year at short. I mean, he's really good. It's not that he wouldn't be good at short. I think he could win a Gold Glove at second. Obviously, he's put himself to do that at third. I'm not sure if he could win a Gold Glove at short, but who knows? He's certainly proved a lot of people wrong before. Offensively, the fact that he was able to hit for more average was nice. That certainly encourages you. He needs to play every day next year for a few reasons. One, he's earned it, right? Two, was his progress offensively this year a fluke or was it real? Over a full season, can he maintain that? If so, that's great. If not, well, it's something you need to know. And then the other side of that is it's not just about maintenance. Maybe can he build upon that? He's still a young player. He still seems to be growing. And, as an everyday player in 2021, could we see another step forward? One of the things with Izzy, good year offensively, still with an OPS just above 700 because he really was largely a singles hitter. In order for him to definitely be an everyday player on a team that's going to compete for a playoff spot down the road, you need him to hit for a little more power. You don't need him to be an 850 OPS guy, but you do need him to be maybe a 750 OPS guy is what you'd like to see in addition to that great defense. I think Izzy still needs to show that long term he can be an every single day player in one spot on a championship type team, or maybe take advantage of his utility nature. Let's say he doesn't improve offensively, then maybe on a World Series contending team he's your 10th guy, and 10th guys are going to play a lot. But you look at the lineups of some of these great World Series contenders this year, and offensively, guys like Izzy, usually are guys who are role players coming off the bench and that nature. But again, all in all, a great year for him, and he'll probably bring back some hardware with the Gold Glove. Andrew Romine was just up for a flash. He's likely just filling a role. Wouldn't expect to see him back. Anderson Tejeda needs to show a better command of the strike zone. Remember, this is another guy who had only played A-ball before this year. 2 walks in 23 games is just not going to cut it at the big league level. Pitchers are going to, constantly take advantage of his aggression. So I expect to see him in Double or Triple A with a chance to compete for a big league spot once the season progresses. All right, Rougned Odor. Well, he did what he's done. A slow start, strong finish, was the team's best hitter in September. Ended up having a slugging percentage of .500 in September. He ends the season as the team leader in RBIs, tied for the team lead in home runs. Because he's going to be due about $12.3 million over each of the next 2 seasons, and with Major League Baseball teams likely cutting payroll, especially teams like the Rangers who aren't necessarily going for a World Series next year, I don't know if the Rangers are going to be incredibly eager to just cut ties with Rugi and pay for him to play elsewhere. I don't know what the trade market's going to be because of that, that contract. You're probably going to have to at least pay some of the contract if you move him to create a spot. I don't think Rugi comes into camp, though, as the second baseman. I don't think that, unlike, this year and years past where it's been his job. I wouldn't even say it's his job to lose. It's been his job. I don't even think it's his job to lose this upcoming year. I think he's going to, at best, be on equal ground with other contenders. I think, depending on Josh Young's progress, heck, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa could vie for second base. We've heard Chris Woodward talk about how he thinks Nick Solak's best position would be second base. So if you have Willie Calhoun DHing and Nick playing second, well, there you go. But the question then is, well, is Rugi just going to be a bench player? Or, what are they going to do? It's tough to have a bench player who can only play second. That limits you with your flexibility. So one of the big questions for me this offseason, what are the Rangers going to do with Rugi, and what are they going to do with Elvis? Same thing with Elvis. If the Rangers are really going to focus on their youth movement, then does Elvis make the most sense? I don't know. There's a big free agent class, not this offseason, but the next offseason. of free agents, including the guy I really love, Trevor Story. The Rangers definitely need to upgrade at the shortstop spot. And as far as playing other positions, the reality is Elvis needs to be better offensively. It doesn't matter whether he's a shortstop, a third baseman, a second baseman, an outfielder. His offense the last 3 seasons has not been that of an everyday player. And so Elvis is going to have to show that offensively he can get back to where he was, and defensively he's going to have to improve at shortstop as well, because the defense, understandably for a guy who's been an everyday player for more than a decade playing that position, the defense is starting to slip. But Elvis is due around $15 million. So what are you going to do with Elvis? Again, I don't think the Rangers want to pay for another team to have Elvis. But I don't think another team necessarily is eager to take on that contract. So you might have to work out some financial terms or figure something out. One of the things teams can do, they can trade bad contract for bad contract, or they can attach one of their prospects to basically entice a team to take on that player and some degree or all of that contract. The Rangers did that with Austin Jackson. They traded for Austin Jackson to take his money from the Giants, but also got Jason Barr in the process. Now, for $15 million, that's going to take a much bigger prospect. I don't know if the Rangers want to do that. But the middle infield is going to be a big part of the conversation this offseason as far as, who's going to be there and what the Rangers are going to do with these two guys who have been mainstays for the last 5 years for Rugi and for Elvis the last better part of a decade. As far as the outfield is concerned, this is a rough year for Willie. Getting hit in spring training, the injury right before the season started, and then the hamstring once the season started. He lost really all power, homered that final weekend, but ended up slugging .260. That's just not, for a guy especially who's probably best off as a DH, you really got to hit. And so this is going to be a big offseason for Willie. I know he's had some big off seasons in the past, but 2021 is going to be a year for a lot of answers, and I think one of those answers is whether or not the Rangers believe Willie Calhoun can be a big part of the middle of their lineup. Because if he's not a middle-of-the-order hitter, then I don't know if you really have a role for a guy who defensively isn't going to help you a ton. Willie said that he just wants to detach mentally. It was a rough year. Hopefully he comes back refreshed in 2021. Shinsuchu, I'd love for him to get a big league opportunity somewhere. Probably not going to be with the Rangers, but what a career this guy's had. And I fully expect him to be a part of the Rangers organization once he finishes playing. He's even mentioned possibly going to Korea next year. Whatever the case, I hope if he wants to play, if he makes that decision, I hope he gets an opportunity. He will leave the Rangers fifth all time in on-base percentage. He really has been such a big part of their team the last 7 years. Not a good year for Joey Gallo. The Rangers, I imagine, will explore trading him this offseason. I don't know that he helped his value this year. Not sure to what degree he hurt his value, but I think Joey would tell you, listen, rough year, got to be better. He still could come away with a Gold Glove. He should win the Gold Glove for right field in the American League for his play. A lot of the advanced metrics have been really favorable. But offensively speaking, and that's his calling card, it just wasn't the type of year you'd like. 2 years left on his deal. It'll be interesting to see how the Rangers progress with Joey. Scott Heinemann was a part of the big league club at times this year, but I think this was a year for him to show that he could be a fourth outfielder. I wouldn't be surprised. In fairness to Scott, he didn't get consistent at bats. It's tough for guys like that. But when he was in the lineup, I don't know that the production was such that the Rangers are going to be eager to give him another shot. Remember, he's not too young. Scott is a 92 birthday, so he turns 28 in December. The Rangers might want to look to give those opportunities to a guy like Eli White, someone a little bit younger, and maybe best for Scott to try something in a different organization. Danny Santana hurt. I don't think he's going to be the center fielder on an everyday basis next year. I think that's going to be Leote, but Danny will probably find his way in the lineup as long as he can stay healthy. He's got to show that 2019 wasn't a fluke. Nick Solak, again, maybe his best position second, maybe it's left field. Either way, he's got to hit for a little more power. The batting average was fine, hitting .270, but slugging .340. Again, that's just not everyday caliber. We saw more power last year. Hopefully he can bring that back in 2021. He did get a lot of bad luck with hard hit balls. He was among the league leaders in hard hit outs, so maybe that will turn around next year. Again, though, defensively, kind of positionless if you're looking to really advance the team, but hopefully he can just be okay defensively somewhere, and the offense can make a big difference. Leote, I thought it was a really strong first season for Leote. I expect him to be the opening day center fielder next year, playing every day. The ability and willingness to draw a walk for someone at his age, 22 years old, was really, really impressive. There you go. That's our look at the position players. We'll look at the pitchers later on this week. Thanks so much. Until next time, stay safe and be healthy.